Hi, welcome to some more Number and Measure Award Level 1. Let's get started. So here we've got this question: what is 3/4 of 4,860? So we're going to treat this as a calculator question, show you how to do it using a calculator, and then I'll show you a slightly simpler example where I would do a non-calculator method. So for this particular question, if it's a calculator question, we are going to make use of the calculator. So there is a button on scientific calculators, and it might look slightly different on different versions, but typically it looks something like this. One of those boxes may be shaded in. So on my calculator, it's on the left hand side, kind of towards the top, a couple of rows down. What we can do is we can literally type in 3/4 there, and where we see the word of, that is telling us to multiply. So we're just going to type in 3/4 times 4,860. So literally I'm just going to type that in now. So don't be a hero if it's a calculator question, just use a calculator. And the answer that I get for this is 3,645. So it's just knowing really where that fraction button is on the calculator, and that where we see of, we're going to think to multiply. But let's say we've got a slightly simpler question. So let's say we've got a question like, what is 4/5 of 35? So something like that. Now a question like this might be a non-calculator question, and if I had this as a non-calculator question, I'd be tempted to use a strategy like bar modelling. So I'm just sketching out a bar and change colour. Now what I would do is I would label that bar up with the quantity. So in this case, the whole bar is worth 35. Now according to the fraction, if it's 4/5, the denominator is the part that tells me how many bits to split the bar up into. So I'm going to split it into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts. Okay, so this is suggesting that what I need to do is I need to do 35 split into 5 parts. So how many 5s fit into 35? Well, that's 7, so I could put a 7 in each of those boxes. Okay, so each fifth is worth 7, 5/5, the whole one, is worth 35. Now the numerator in this question is 4, so I need to find out how much 4/5 is worth. So if I look at 4 of those pieces, 4 lots of 7 is equal to 28. So therefore 4/5 of 35 is 28. So here we have a similar question, but this time we've got percentages rather than fractions. So again, what I'm going to focus on really is how would I do this if it was a calculator question. So I would take advantage of fractions and decimals, percentages, and knowing those conversions. So in this case, I'm going to think about what is a fraction. So what is a percentage? And really, it's a special fraction written out of 100. So I could think of this as 35 over 100. It's a fraction, and where I see the word of, that's telling me that I want to multiply, and I've got 240. So I can treat it in a very similar way to the previous question. Now if you're really confident with percentages, you might just be able to turn it straight into a decimal and just type it in as 0.35 multiplied by £240. And personally, that's what I'd look to do myself in a question like this. So that's what I'm going to type in. So in this case, that gives me an answer 84. I do just want to check that it's sensible, and I do want to include the units here, which is pounds. Okay, so looking at that question, I don't think that's a bad question at all. Again, just understanding what that word of is telling you to do. If you've got a calculator, make use of it. But just that understanding is percentages are out of 100, and if you can convert it into a decimal straight away, then that's going to make your life very straightforward. So final couple of questions for this video. First of all, it's asking us what is 45% as a decimal. So again, we're just going to think of a percentage as a special fraction out of 100, so that can help. Hopefully many of you would just be able to just turn this straight into 0.45 and just be able to see it and make that connection. But if you can't, what we need to do is, according to that fraction bar is telling us to divide, so we need to do 45 divided by 100. So we're thinking of things moving along the place value grid. So at the minute, we've got our units, we've got our tens, and if we go the other way, we've got our tenths and our hundredths. So what's going to happen is we're going to move things 2 places across. So I've got 4 tenths now and 5 hundredths. Okay, and we can put a placeholder 0 in the front, so 0.45. And just as we've seen, we've already actually written 45% as a fraction, because we said, okay, it can be 45 over 100. What would be really good is if we could simplify that fraction. So if I look at both of those parts of the numerator and denominator, I notice that they're both multiples of 5. So if we divide the numerator by 5, so how many 5s are fitting into 45? That would be 9. And I'm going to divide the denominator by 5. How many 5s fit into 100 is 20. So although 45 over 100 is 45% as a fraction, the simplest way of writing that is as 9/20. Okay, hope this video has been useful. Thank you for listening and good luck.